This is Elizabeth Joyce with Visions of Reality. In 2016, the world is certainly changing. My goodness, it's changing so fast this year. I think that it's because of 2012, December 21st, 2012, when the new energy of the planet came in. And then we all had to go through the 7 Uranus-Pluto squares, which just finished up at the end of 2015. And I'm going to recap what has happened in the first quarter of 2016. It is amazing. Humanity's understanding of the world continuously changes. Many, perhaps even most, individuals are not able to recognize, comprehend, or absorb the changes that take place. Often, even most experts in the fields where the changes do take place are unable to comprehend or accept it during their lifetimes. This is true about many fields and disciplines: physics, astronomy, biology, medicine, political, the economy, and the list goes on and on. 2016 has been a year of change in several fields. Change so momentous that before the year 1800, equivalent changes took place only centuries apart. Since 1800, the changes have occurred decades apart, but there has never been one quarter of a year that has seen so many changes as this year, 2016, has seen so far. We have a changed understanding of the physical world. In January, there were 3 major scientific breakthroughs that will eventually change how science perceives the world and how that perception will be taught in our schools. We have all heard the stories and explanations of quantum physics regarding Schrodinger's cat and the action at a distance. Einstein wasn't convinced, but couldn't prove otherwise. He called it spooky action at a distance. It's very similar to the 100th monkey syndrome. For the first time a couple of years ago, an actual experiment was devised to test the action at a distance. These experiments usually take place at a subatomic level and in conditions that require near absolute temperatures, and the results last for a tiny fraction of a second, so tiny that we measure in nanoseconds. On February 2nd, action at a distance, more properly called quantum entanglement, was achieved at room temperature level on such a microscopic scale at the size of approximately one large molecule, so as to be almost visible to the naked eye. This is an effect so bizarre as to rank right up there with time-space relativity, where clocks slow down, so that a space traveler goes away and comes back younger than everyone who stayed behind. This discovery also verifies the possibility of distant healing. The explanations of this new understanding of reality are quite involved and entertaining for anyone who wishes to study it. And speaking of time, the second was redefined as 100 times more accurately. There is a website that discusses this, and I have that at my website, which is www.newvisions.com. In this article, 2016, the world is changing. So we are able to study seconds and time more accurately than ever was possible with atomic clocks before. On February 8th, fusion and plasma power generations were achieved for the first time. Many countries were working on this, but Germany achieved it first, maintaining the plasma state for a tiny fraction of a second with its stellar reactor. I've been watching for a couple of years with the many interesting videos on YouTube about the equipment building leading up to the breakthrough with matter. and it was able to sustain a cloud of hydrogen plasma for a quarter of a second at 80 million degrees Celsius, which was much more than hundreds of times of the German accomplishment. Plasma is one of the 5 phases of matter. When I went to school, they only taught about 3. My teacher only knew about 3. Plasma had been named in 1928 and theorized about in the 1800s, but none of my teachers were likely to have known about it. Plasma is not a rare little thing of the universe. All of the phases of matter, solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and the 5th, think of ice, water, steam, plasma, BEC, plasma, makes up over 99% overlook. As for the 5th state of matter, the BEC, which is Bose-Einstein condensate, don't ask and I won't say it because I can't understand it. Anyway, Bose and Einstein theorized about this in 1924, and Cornell and Wyman demonstrated about it in 1995. And I understood it never. But again, it's one of those practically absolute zero things which is 3 degrees colder than it gets in outer space. On February 11th, we had the first report of the capture of a gravity wave, as predicted by Einstein, rippling through space. This was fantastic, because I have been aware of them and felt them since birth, but now this has been scientifically verified. The fact that we have gravity waves is another reason why distant healing works, as well as telepathic response and sometimes being able to read someone else's thoughts. All this at the same time. It would be remarkable, even in 1 year or even in 1 century, when we compare what was discovered over the many centuries previous. Each of these discoveries is at a level of changing our understanding of the universe and physical reality, like that of realizing that the Earth is rotating instead of the sun moving around the Earth, and that the Earth is round instead of flat, or that traveling stars are really planets just like the Earth. All these new discoveries in 2016 are beyond our comprehension, and I certainly have no idea what their significance is for the future. However, I do know that the veil was lifted a lot more for humans, and we are delving even deeper into cosmic understanding. This is happening because of 12-21-12 and the opening of the galaxy, allowing us to receive and utilize the new energies of the 5th dimension. It's known as the double helix. More importantly, they make me wonder what has been theorized or discovered as yet unreported. Perhaps in some secret government lab that would completely change our view of the universe. Again. Fortunately, I was convinced years ago of the Hindu, Christian Science, Zen Buddhist view that what appears to us in this material world is nothing but illusion. So I can fit all of this right into my concept of relativity and the illusion of the physical world. Another reason why all of mankind should embrace the world and not harm or destroy. We have a changed understanding of the technical world. I predicted magical and mystical, albeit significant technical discoveries this year in 2016. These are a few. Science Digest is reporting the most marvelous breakthroughs, which includes the federal approval of self-driving cars, computers using a light to calculate at the speed of light, micro-drones for the military, and advances in medicine and surgery that permit working on the brain itself, opening up ways for the ability to help paraplegics. Oh my, what a wonderful thing. My grandmother would have thought someone was pulling her leg if she had been told about what is comparatively a simple heart transplant. Now, we may begin to use the filament transplants that's done in energy work. See Ascension, Accessing the 5th Dimension workbook. There is too much to possibly report in this area. 90% of all engineers and scientists who have ever lived in what we know of history are still alive, well, and working through their recorded work and research. Every week, new astounding things are put forth. I was certainly impressed this last month when a rocket was launched into space and its first stage returned to land, and the rocket itself returned to where it had taken off, as if it had a magnet or memory pulling it back into place. The rocket that North Korea sent up wasn't quite as impressive, but it was certainly impressive that North Korea can do what they did. I don't agree with the naysayers that combining that with their nuclear tests, that they wouldn't be able to set off an EMP blast high above America. Then there are both theirs and China's new submarine. There are changes in the religious world as well. On this last Friday, the Pope and the Patriarch got together for the first time in nearly 1,000 years. Things that happen only once every 1,000 years can definitely be classified as rare. To me, this proves again the strength of this new double helix energy. Look at what is occurring, especially with the presidential race in the United States, as well as many other issues that they are now beginning to solve. There are many other changes taking place in the religious world. Most will notice the rise of the caliphate with the Islamic State. Many also note how much the turning away from God has accelerated in the past few decades. In 2010, there was supposed to be a choice element of energy present, and on November 11th, 2011, that choice was etherically made. Whose side are you on, dark or light? That choice was declared irreversible. Not that long ago, say 20 years, most everyone in Europe and North America attended church regularly. But today, religion, morality, social mores, father against son and mother against daughter, family breakdowns, and the prominence of homosexuality and abortion have changed drastically from what they were a few generations ago. Here, too, in my understanding, there are major religious changes of which most people are not aware. It's like 15 AD, when it would have been very hard to find anyone even near the locale of Jerusalem who knew Jesus. So likewise today, relatively few are aware of the significance that occurred in 1844. Yet, 2,000 years later, Jesus is known around the world, and perhaps 1,000 years later, so will be the events of 1844, the year of the Great Disappointment, beginning with the Mormon Church. Hey, did you know? 1844 was a presidential election year. The general election of 1844 took place in the midst of an increasingly bitter congressional dispute over anti-slavery agitation, raising questions as to whether free soul and slave soul interests could coexist within a democratic republic. Democrat Martin Van Buren, his party's presumptive presidential contender, was ousted at the Democratic National Convention, failing to meet the demands of Southern Democrat expansionists for a leader favoring an immediate acquisition of Texas. Democrat James K. Polk emerged as America's first dark horse nominee, running on the platform that embraced America's popular commitment to the territorial expansionism. This was referred to as manifest destiny. It looks like we're going to be creating this process once again in 2016. It's a possibility. Often changes take place suddenly, but awareness of them has to be internalized and processed, and this always proceeds slowly. We have changes in the geopolitical world. A number of sources and articles are saying that we are now back in the Cold War. We have changes in the military world. There is supposedly an 18-day Saudi Arabian exercise happening right now in combination with Turkey and opposed by Iran and Russia that could be the start of World War III. Not exactly my idea of fun, but who knows? I've been wrong about many things in the past. All of the combatants have many things on their plates. Turkey is struggling with the Kurds. Iran has ISIS to contend with. Russia is constrained by the Ukraine and NATO. Constrained may be a little too strong, and I can't say preoccupied because they have clearly told Saudi Arabia to back off. Supposedly, Saudi Arabia is involving 350,000 troops, 50,000 tanks, and several dozen aircraft. The latter reportedly began bombing ISIS positions in Syria. Their goal, and that of the U.S., is to remove Bashar al-Assad, president of Syria, because of the pipeline, although they and the U.S. say that it's to bring justice, goodness, and mercy to the people of Syria. I don't think this is going to happen any too soon. I don't see al-Assad removed. All we can do is watch them, and Pakistan and India, and China putting multiple nuclear warheads on its missiles this week. All these are nuclear powers. Eventually, someone is going to rub someone the wrong way, and then the cat fur will fly. That's why these two eclipses in March of 2016 are so very powerful to the planet. And we can expect many other changes. There are many other changes that I can list, such as the US dollar versus China, and that the US stock market is now officially a bear market. Oh wait, that was yesterday, and it is said today there's a new bull market, and that may be beginning. I think the whole financial world is a bunch of bull. But as little as I understand about it, as well as the Einstein theory of physics, I understand less about the financial world. No matter what the financial media says, most people I know think the world is in such a state that we need to be prepared for its collapse at any moment. But I've been thinking that for ages. The fact that the Supreme Court Justice Scalia passed away may turn out to be very significant. Obama naming a replacement could irritate some opposition so greatly that they might feel it was not a justified solution. Is the world ready for World War III? What does it say about mass media when massive forces from Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Turkey, and Egypt are sitting in Turkey along the Syrian border ready to invade? And this is not front page news? Finally, we know the times they are changing. Here are some of the famous words from the Bob Dylan classic. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. Don't speak too soon, for the wheels still spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will later to win, for the times they are changing. And then this more importantly, come senators, congressmen, please heed to the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. And there's a battle outside raging. It will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. I tell you today that the years between 2017 and 2023 will be most difficult worldwide. Again, thank you, Bob Dylan, who in 1960 was wise enough to pen these words. This is Elizabeth Joyce with Visions of Reality. The website is www.new-visions.com. For anything that I record on YouTube, it's always written out at the website. If you'd like to call for an appointment or a consultation, the number is 215-996-0646. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the weekend.